They're taking the supercharger.
And what's the backstory there?
Just he loves the thing, and that's what got him to where he's at right now.
That's how he gets it done.
That's how he gets it done.
I mean, the guy's so epic that it just
Does not surprise
totally
me.
follows. Yeah.
Does not surprise me. Dean Carnage Kearney, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to do backflips, and he's going to shut down the bar. I think that's what he's going to do. Oh, man. Here we go. Jeff Jones, 818 Brewing, Edelbrock, GT Radial. Then you got Dean Carnage Kearney, Oracle Lighting, Dodge Viper. All about carnage with a K. Here we go. Jeff Jones will lead. Jones qualified 18th. Kearney qualified 26th. He's one of those late eights. But now he's trying to birth a podium finish. Jeff Jones initiates into that first front clip, and Dean Kearney comes in hot, makes contact with Jones, but Jones stays in it. Now coming to that first outside zone, into that second outside zone goes Jones. Look at Jeff Jones, absolute beast. Coming through that touch and go, and then that final inside clip. Ryan Sage, a great battle here between Jones and Carnage.
Oh, wow.
What's going through your mind right now? You're just kind of looking at the screen.
Well, okay, honestly, what was going through my mind is I was thinking back to Texas last year when we said, wow, Jeff Jones, he could potentially get his first podium.
Yeah.
And now we find ourselves in this same situation. Let's take a look at the run first. Little love tap there from Dean Kearney. Stays in it, but Jeff Jones pushes, has to do a little bit of braking there. Let's take a look at it again. This is where the decel zone ends right there at that inside clip. Jones is able to muscle through it. And now Kearney through the smoke line, has to pull some angle out of the car to get back on it as Jones gets into outside zone number 2, a little bit shallow, pushes wide on that inside clip. That allows Dean to take a little bit of ground back. Now coming down the hill here is Dean eyeing him up, smartly staying out of that smoke line, but he does miss the inside clip that Jones was able to get through, and we are seeing Jones pull off to the side there. I think he is going to talk to his spotter and potentially find out who was at fault for the contact. I'm pretty sure that it will be Dean, and that will allow Jeff Jones, just like Vaughn Gittin Jr., to take a look at the car. But at the same event in Texas, just going back to what we were talking about, we also had LZ get very close to a podium as well. And so we find ourselves in a very similar situation here. We've got Jones, who you mentioned qualified 18th, LZ 27. So we're going to start keeping an eye on these because as we move into the Final Four, qualifying position will determine podium position for at least one guy.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. So, yep. All right, while we get things sorted, you can see the flyover here of the hot grid area. We'll be right back. More action when we return here to Road Atlanta, the Royal Purple Road to the Championship, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Or, you know, he may bow out of competition. There's a number of different options available there. Nonetheless, the way it will go down.
The start line, and if you can remember, we got that contact there. And we'll have to, this is the second run of this Great 8 battle. Who's moving on to the Final Four? So we saw Jeff Jones initiate, and Dean Kearney, if you can recall, came in hot in that chase position. So the question is, you know, Dean was at fault. So look at the guys having some fun in the back. Yo, the Jones gang.
There's just
Jones
there's nothing like this.
No, Jones and his team are a different breed, man, and I think it needs to be celebrated. Here we go. Dean Kearney out front. Jones in that chase position. Kearney initiates massive angle there. Wow, that was very sick. Solid initiation there, but Jones needs to get active. Oh, and Dean goes over, sprays the dirt to the sand people right there. And look at Jones. Ryan, you don't give a lot of drivers nicknames, but you deemed him relentless years ago, and I think it just really summarizes who he is and his spirit.
Oh, I'm definitely going to need to see that again, and probably the first run.
Right.
I need a refresher.
Oh, nice. Let's go with the little side-by-side action. The BC Racing side-by-side instant replay. BC Racing, the official suspension of Formula Drift. Go for the gold.
All right, so Jeff Jones and Dean Kearney here, keeping us entertained into the night. Jeff Jones, Dean Kearney, waiting at the line. We'll pull up some replays here. We've got 2 runs in the books now. We had a bit of a circumstance on run number 1 and a bit of a circumstance on run number 2. So they are not only keeping us entertained, they're also making it very difficult for this panel of 3 judges up here. But nonetheless, a great way to kick off the 2021 season. Still the other half of LZ and Odie to go, I believe.
Yep. Odie and LZ, and they had that contact with LZ coming in hot. So a lot of these chase drivers absolutely going for it. All right, side by side of that BC Racing, side by side, instant replay.
All right, Jones on the left screen in the lead. Dean on the right. The lead run is on the left-hand side for Jones. That was the first lap, rather. That's where they got a little tight up there on the initiation. Jones shooting out wide in his lead run to get out to touch and go number 1, but comes up short on outside zone number 2. Goes wide on the clip as Dean in his lead run trying to pull away from Jones, coming through the touch and go and through this final snap here. And a tough battle here for the judges, and getting some news from the LZ camp here coming through. Want to wait for the official nature of it, but our task at hand is to find a winner between Jeff Jones and Dean Kearney.
All right, here's a look from the drones. This is the second run, so this is with Dean out front, Jones in the chase position. Now remember that contact made by Dean. Did Jones do enough? And Dean, you know, I mean, that's a deduction, but it's not incomplete.
And Dean was looking really good up to that point. As you said, it's just a deduction, a mistake. His initiation, his angle, the flow that he carried through the first inside clip, all pretty solid. Pondering. I see one judge that's no longer pondering. He's like, I got it.
Scores are in. All of them are in. All right, here we go. Slide him left for Jones, right for Kearney. We got it one more time from Eggert, and Lontaine says Jones, and Brian says Jeff Jones gets the win. Jeff Jones is moving on to the Final Four. He qualified 18th. Odie Bakshi's qualified 3rd. Adam LZ qualified 27th. Oh, man. Ryan? Well, Ryan, I believe Lorette just texted us, and she sent us some news about what was to be the second half of our next and last battle of the Great 8.
Uh-oh. What do you got?
But we are finding out that LZ was unable to repair his vehicle in the 5-minute allotment. So Adam LZ is out of competition. Odie Bakshi's will advance into the Final Four. Odie Bakshi's qualified 3rd. Jeff Jones, the lowest qualifying driver. He needs to beat Odie in order to podium.
Right.
On
that's
the other
story.
Yeah, that's the story that, like, you know, everybody likes an underdog. I don't consider Jeff Jones an underdog anymore, man. Not anymore. He took out Osbo. You know, he gave it to Kearney. You know, he has all the makings there, and you got to think also, is Odie 100%? You know, Jeff was down a cylinder.
Right.
Remember that? I mean, he called it. Oh, he used his comp timeout.
Yeah.
He used his comp timeout earlier. He didn't have to use one for this.
So he's going to have this natural break that will happen here as we move back over to the left-hand side.
Well, we have Odie. He has to run the second half of his battle.
Yeah.
Just to make sure the car runs.
Yeah, we got that. So that's 2 minutes, right?
Couple minutes. We'll take a short break. There's Odie. He's navigating his way up to the start line.
And then Field and Gittin.
And
then
Jones
we'll
and Odie. The plot thickens.
Underdog, interesting. I'd love to know the